timers on it, so when it comes to something, 3 minutes. Just create 3 minutes.
3 minutes, that was good.
Right, who fancies helping us cut the gato? Oh, right.
Hey, where's my scalpel?
Oh, there are you.
What's the next?
Everything's new. All right.
There you go.
Give a nice time.
Yes, it's good. It's a family affair, really.
That's a point, Sandy.
Oh, I enjoyed it.
Sandy,
Nice thing under the
remember
bed.
you were going to get spoons
Well,
for the gato?
Well,
Just about
But are
a
they?
nice time just
Yes,
between
I mean,
that and Easter, you know.
I appreciate the whole. I like the routine as well. You know,
Yes.
it's good to have a better stick routine to, you know. So it takes a wee bit to get used to it again.
And I'd also like to extend a warm welcome to many friends who have come back tonight to be with Betty on this occasion, and in particular to her son Colin and his wife Fran. We're delighted to have you with us. Betty joined the staff of Uddingston Grammar School in March 1968, having previously worked in Logan and Johnson Pre-Nursing College in Bridgeton. Suffice to say that this was not a psychiatric establishment. Maybe it was. Betty heard of the post through Jimmy Ogg, who was at that time principal teacher of physical education in the school. And in spite of this, they've maintained their friendship over many years. Appointed by that fine man of education, P.J. Quinn, Betty has served under 3 rectors, Mr. Quinn, Mr. Gray and myself. Betty is an extremely loyal person, and as far as I am concerned, indispensable. Her care, her courtesy, her consideration for all who she comes in contact with is to be greatly admired. I have valued her for all the help and especially the advice she has given me over the last 5 years. It's not been unknown for Betty to say to me, "May I suggest?" Just a quiet reminder that the rector is going in the wrong direction. Her relations with staff were magnanimous. When she said no, she really meant yes. Betty has a mean, determined streak in her. She doesn't give in to anything, and in this direction has taken on the new technology of the last few years and mastered it. Recently, the ladies of the office were discussing Betty's retiral, and a colleague remarked, "Oh, but we have fun in this office. Just think what it would be like if we get somebody that's well organised." At times, Betty thinks that she is not well enough organised, but that is just one of 2 great myths in Uddingston Grammar School. The second one being that Mr. Harkness doesn't know his way to a classroom. Betty is the possessor of well-developed language skills. In the recent past, and I say not the immediate past, one rector was guilty of certain eccentricities of spelling and of an unhappy maladroitness in handling grammatical construction. Betty had a watching but respectful brief to spot the more glaring of these, and very few escaped her gimlet eye. She has even been known to point out errors committed by the AHT upper. It was to Betty's credit that her respect for the offices held by senior staff was so strong that she felt it to be an inherent part of the essential fitness of things that in communication skills they be seen to be beyond reproach. Betty is always at her desk before most of us arrive in the morning. Her bracing directness of approach first thing was felt by some to be an invigorating tonic. Others felt it more in the nature of a healthy purgative, destined to keep us regular throughout the day. From time to time, the sheer burden of work imposed on Betty left her in a mood of preoccupied glumness. It is therefore entirely appropriate that in the Christmas show she was dressed as a Christmas fairy, presumably the sugar plum fairy. Another performance comes to mind when on Red Nose Day, the ladies of the office dressed up as Chinese maidens. They tripped demurely onto the stage, only to find that the backing tape was not for their number. They looked at one another and tripped off the stage again, just as demurely. Betty's performances are not confined to school shows. Indeed, she is a member of a concert group who go to a large number of events during the winter season, bringing lots of happiness to groups of elderly people in homes and in hospitals. Many years ago, I was the proud owner of a Labrador dog, and he and I got along well until I gave him a bone. If I went near him at this time, he would first of all bare his teeth. Then he would growl, and then finally he would snap. That experience gained some 27 years ago prepared me for the day when I dared interrupt Betty when she was finalising the imprest account. Leslie has said that this operation took her to Olympian heights of irascible tetchiness. It was always wise to avoid the office when P-I-T was evident. Pre-impressed tension. With her exactness for detail, Betty has not afforded us a volume of howlers. One did, however, slip through on a Latin exam paper when reference was made to the pubic wars. Betty is a person of many interests. She's always pleased when the weather is good and she can get out walking or climbing. Sandy recalls walking up Ben Lomond with her in a fundraising venture for the Royal Commonwealth Society for the Blind. He told me yesterday that when he reached the top of the Ben, he was puffed and he turned round and here was Betty right on her heel, full of spirit. She is also well known for her green-fingered successes. And indeed, the plants in my office would lang syne have gone to the happy hunting ground for plants if it hadn't been for Betty. Crosswords are also her forte. Many a crossword, but never a cross word. Giant crosswords, prize crosswords, quickie crosswords, all offer a challenge to Betty. And so we see in Betty a person with remarkable talents, broad interests, and a keen sense of humour. But above all, she is a great family person. She has two sons, Alan and Colin, and a daughter, Moira, and is rightly proud of them all, especially the grandchildren. Granny holds a special place in the lives of young folk, and Betty is no exception in this role. I'm sure that during her retirement, she will be able to spend a bit more time with all of them, especially the soon expected arrival. In conclusion, Betty, may I thank you on behalf of staff, past and present, for your untiring contribution to the work of the school, for your loyal support to so many of us, for your many acts of consideration and kindness, and to sincerely wish you health and happiness for the future you rightly deserve. Also, a happy birthday on Monday. In the words of the song, Betty, there will never be another you. I present you with this token of good wishes from the staff of the school and your friends, and I'd like to read what it says on the front, Betty. Now that this phase of your career has drawn to a successful conclusion, may new vistas unfold before you as you don the walking boots and the haversack. May you spend countless happy hours drinking in the fresh air and enjoying the scenic grandeur of bonny Scotland. With every best wish for your future happiness from your many friends and associates at Uddingston Grammar School.
feel like the Queen. Mr. Bainton, friends and colleagues, former colleagues, brethren and sisters. In the olden days, when I was young and in my prime, I used to think that someone, be he handsome or otherwise, would come along and take me away long before I ever had to make a retiral speech. But he never did, and here I still am. And you're listening to me doing this trick for a second time in my career. I think I'll just do a little preamble first before I do my thank yous. Some of you who have seen me hirpling about the school recently could be forgiven to think that I'm past my sell-by date already. As a matter of fact, one of my friends in the Rambling Club took a photograph of another two ladies and myself sitting in the wreck of an old car out on a hillside, one driving, one reading a map, and the backseat driver, of course, telling us where to go, all in our Tom Weir rig out, and entered it in a competition with the caption underneath, "Last of the summer wine." And we didn't even win. 24 years is a long time, and I've changed quite a bit since I first set foot in Uddingston Grammar. When I came here, I felt compelled to always address Mr. Quinn as Sir. And when I was sent to collect a pupil from a classroom or to deliver a message to a teacher, it was quite a terrifying experience. I had to stand outside the door for a while to gather up my courage to open the door and walk into a room full of pupils looking at me. One of my most embarrassing occasions was when I walked out of the office one day to find my own son sitting with half a dozen other miscreants outside the rector's room awaiting attention, having been sent up by my friend, Jimmy O. They were fighting. Colin duly got the belt from Mr. Quinn, so you can see there was no quarter given either by friend or boss. He insists that on this occasion it was unjust retribution, as he was only an onlooker to the fight. Perhaps it's just as well he was only here for a year before going to Bannerman's High School when it opened. I must thank Mr. Bainton for all his kind remarks and also for being such a nice boss to work for. Mr. Bainton, you know, has a lot to put up with in our office as it is a very noisy place, and he must be quite glad he is going to have an office upstairs away from all the hurly-burly of a general office. In fact, he has been heard to say recently that he would like to have a padded cell to retire to when things get too much for him. The senior staff have been very good this week at not giving me too much work in the way of typing to do, but there's method in their madness. This is so that I could clear out my baskets, do some much needed file clearing, and generally tidy up the cupboards. Incidentally, probably no one will be able to find anything now, because they always knew before that if they went through my baskets they would eventually find what they were looking for. I was just thinking recently about my past rector's speech-making styles. Mr. Quinn, some of you may remember, was a great one for mentioning the slim waist and neat ankle when saying farewell to young lady teachers. And giving us quotations like Mr. Harkness. Mr. Gray, even on a never-to-be-forgotten occasion, even wrote a poem about a certain person. I've had a busy, always interesting, satisfying and happy 24 years. It's somewhat harassing at times, especially recently. I've enjoyed my job and thank my colleagues in the office for their support and for all the laughs we've had over the years. Sometimes things have been a bit fraught, but we've always found something to laugh at together. I wonder if this is a place to put in a plug for the hard times that are coming to them over the next few months, and in a friendly way advise the, for want of a better word, milk money people to look to their laurels as their jackets are hanging on a rusty nail. Do I see any red faces? They'll just laugh, but perhaps might not be laughing next week. I'd like to thank David Forrest for his help and patience with us all in learning to use the new technology, which I've thoroughly enjoyed doing, and for his bouncing optimism that we could do it. I know his tidy soul cringes every day when he looks at the state of my desk. Leslie, I thank you for all the laughs you give us, the songs, and of course all the big words you've taught me. You know, I love to try and catch him out in his spelling, but on the very rare occasion when I've done so, drat it, it's not really a spelling mistake at all, just a slip of the pen. Sandy's always willing to help in any way when asked, but occasionally makes himself unpopular by giving us exclusions late on a Friday afternoon. This bit is just repeating what Mr. Bainton has already said. Sandy has the distinction of helping me to climb my very first Monroe, Ben Lomond. He was the sweeper, I think he called himself. In other words, he looked after the people at the tail end, me of course. I'm no Muriel Gray, unfortunately, and I'm still invariably at the tail end, though I usually arrive eventually. I'm sorry I seem to have no stories about Dave Greenshields, but then he hasn't been a member of the hierarchy for so long. Perhaps he's quite glad. I thank the art department, home economics department, technical department and music department for their advice and practical assistance on many occasions. It's great to have your own personal advisor to hand. Sandy and his helpers on the social committee have done a splendid job of organising this evening for me, and I thank them all for their hard work. It is lovely to see so many of you present friends and old friends here to give me a good send-off. Is that the right expression? Only this week I noticed how the new building is coming on, and I hope to be asked back when the new school is finally completed. Hopefully I won't be in my bath chair by then. I'm bound to miss the company of all you friendly people, but with the coming of spring and summer, I'm sure I'll enjoy my new freedom and find lots of other outlets for my energy. I might even become a champion bowler, who knows? I'll think about you all, for a while anyway. Staff, teaching and otherwise, janitors, Madge, our cheery, hygienic lady, Donald and his constant supply of wine gums. To close, I'll just tell you a story about the mummy whale who took her baby out into the big ocean to explain to her about life and all the pitfalls she might meet along the way. In any case, she finished off her advice with the admonition, now, always remember, dear, you're at your most vulnerable when you're up and spouting. Thank you all for contained. Thanks for coming, and please enjoy the rest of the evening.
Am I on camera? Elizabeth, to the only rose in a garden of thorns.
Just a minute. Just a minute. I've broken the match.
You can come out now, sir.
Look at the hills.
Top of one of them.
Lovely.
It's actually okay. Just to generate. This is picking we don't want. Thank you. How much? A camera?
Second helping.
Excuse me, we haven't got your
Second helping. Okay.
Yeah, go on, let's see.
Okay. Second helping.
Listen, that is jittering again. Stop, it's not jittering anymore. It stopped. I flapped it. Did it stop? No, it just stopped jittering.
I'll confiscate the tape.
So no.
No, it's not so much jittering, it's focus changing. It's not jittering at all. It's not actually, no jittering can come down here. It's not jittering at all. No, it's not either. No, when I touch it with my phone, is it? It's just your hand, you've been drinking too much.
That's me.
Cut a square, we'll take the square over and do it. Come this way now, cut a square. When did you give that off? I'm not going to find out.
I'll get you next time.
what you're videoing.
Zoom in and let's see you.
Observe.
It's a slab of meat.
That is linging, which is typical of something.
Yes, I'm
Would you look at that? I'm supposed to be impressed. That is a generous DMR.
the size of that. That's the chenier.
DMR.
Listen, DMR sack. P45 times.
Now, here we have generosity. Generosity. A succulent piece of cake. See, there's another I cut in there. No, it's.
She does. She does. She does. She does. She does.
It's
I know.
No. Yes, it does come off in the fingers.